I teach lower level language courses, introductory level.
Before, I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's the only time. Do you want to try and do 20 minutes, just like you're going to be doing in the conference?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
But it might be 20 minutes.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be different then.
Okay.
And so I'm also a PhD in the Department of Language Literacy and Social Cultural Studies, and I'm doing a minor at the different department, which is Educational Psychology. Basically, this minor motivated me to do this kind of presentation, and Tanya knows recently I got accepted for this presentation for the conference in February. So we'll see. So for the agenda, what is developing student interest and persistence, and what are essential elements of this instruction? Implicit beliefs about intelligence. Beliefs about learning a foreign language. Is it an ability or not? Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Performance goals and mastery goals. Interest and mastery goals. Modeling, self-efficacy, and persistence. What are course objectives in lower level foreign language courses, and how can we reach them? Model of interactive instruction and practice, and implementation of this practice into the foreign language classroom and making this practice meaningful for students. So let's try to developing student interest and persistence. The essential elements of this instruction: create, model, and practice. This is my own creation. So what do I mean by create? So it's basically teachers' control over students' beliefs about their intelligence in foreign language. What I mean by model is teachers' implementation of modeling of specific practice. And practice itself, students' collaboration in the classroom that contributes to the construction of knowledge in foreign language classroom. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt.
Let's probably do it at the end, because that's going to be.
Okay, so common beliefs that we have about intelligence and knowledge. Everyone has beliefs about intelligence and knowledge. It's basically, oh, I'm smart. Oh, well, I know I am smart, but I know I'm only this kind of smart. Or I know my intelligence is very fixed, so I don't think I can jump over my head. In Russia, we say this a lot. Beliefs about intelligence and knowledge affect our behaviors. Education affects the kinds of beliefs we have. We hope. Educational experiences affect reasoning skills. So, beliefs about learning a foreign language. Is it an innate ability or not? What do you think? Don't read my slides yet. What do you think?
Learning a foreign language, whether it's you mean the language faculty? Acquiring a second?
Acquiring a second language. Do you think it's innate ability or not?
I think so. I mean, I think that we acquire language as children, and I know that there's thoughts about do we lose that ability over time, but I think there must be something still innate in being able to do.
Yeah, but do you think people have special talents for language?
You're talking about language aptitude. Okay.
Language
Okay,
aptitude.
okay.
Okay.
All right. I do believe in language aptitude, and there is research.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are better than that, and it's totally something that you cannot learn.
So there's research, yes, I agree about that. We do have language aptitudes for some skills, but there's also research that says that we don't. And many people do believe that there is a specific talent or ability to learn foreign language, such as one must have an ear, or gift for languages, or, how many times have you heard, oh, I'm just not made for languages, I don't think I can handle that.
That's anecdotal evidence and folk wisdom. But we're researchers.
But
So.
still, we do have such students in our classes.
Right, and that's why you should educate them.
And I think this is why it's very important that we should not stress that people do have ability or talent for the language.
Of course, you're not going to go and tell them that.
However, our abilities about intelligence and knowledge are not strongly related to our abilities. And there's also research about that. But they do affect very strongly the way we reason. Therefore, the role of mindsets is particularly important for understanding language learners' motivation, persistence, and even interest. Okay, so what are implicit beliefs? These are personal beliefs. Is what we have in our, it's like unconsciousness belief, you know?
So do you make a distinction between personal beliefs that are based on some sort of evidence and personal beliefs that are completely ungrounded and baseless? Because there is a difference, right?
Yeah, there is a difference, but we're just gonna talk about beliefs that are, that we have and that are unconscious.
So it's not based on any evidence.
No.
You just think you're bad and that's
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Not
exactly.
that you
No, it's
you
not,
got
it's
an
not
F
grounded.
and
No, it's
okay.
not research grounded. No.
Okay.
And so, what implicit beliefs or theories about intelligent knowledge we have a large effect on? Willingness to engage in a learning task, persistent, relation, amount of effort, help-seeking, learning strategies, creativity, risk-taking, and also learning goals. Beliefs about intelligence. There are two types of implicit theories about intelligence that people have. First of all, entity theory. Intelligence is fixed, so it's unchangeable, inborn. It's all about nature. Also known as fixed mindset. Applying to the foreign language, aptitude, it's, oh, I just can't learn it. I know it, I can't learn it. I don't have an ear for that, or I don't have a special talent for that, or I don't have a gift for that. Or incremental theory, which is intelligence is changeable and can be improved through the effort and learning. So it's nurture. Also known as growth mindset.
You wanna give some references there for those two theories because people there are not gonna know.
That's why I said it's a super acronym. Okay, and just give you, a little hands-on. Fixed mindset, growth mindset. Something you're born with is fixed. Something to avoid, like foreign language, or I just don't want to try it. I tried it in my second grade, and I don't think I'm good at it, so I'm just going to put it away. Could be a lack of skill, and tend to give up easily. No, this is not my thing. It's unnecessary. Something you do when you are not good enough. This is exactly our case. Get defensive, take it personal, blame others, and get discouraged. For the growth mindset, it comes from the hard work. So instead of praising the, performance or praising the result, or not result in a situation of failure, you could just say, yes, I did a lot of effort, I put a lot of effort, so this is me. Can always improve. It's always about improvement. Should be embraced. An opportunity to grow, more persistent, essential, a path to mastery, which is very important in our case, useful, something to learn from, identify areas to improve. So whenever we see, oh, this thing needs a little bit of more my effort than I think. Use as a wake-up call to work harder next time. So for example, you got an assignment and you got a C minus, and you're like, I have two options. I can be super upset about it and just say, this is not my thing, or I can think and decide what other strategies I can use in order to improve it. So this is basically how it looks in the picture. This is the way my intelligence is. No, intelligence will grow and develop. Okay, so people associate performance entity beliefs, which is fixed mindset, with performance goals. Students want to demonstrate ability or competence. They do avoid risk because appearance is important. So I want to write this paper because simply I just want to get A+. Do I learn something from that? Not necessarily. you know, I just want to get it done, I just want to appear well, and that's it, goodbye. Wants task to appear easy. Lower effort expended. So what about students? Yes, they do adopt some learning behaviors that more often than mastery students, right? Attribute failure to lack of ability. So again, this is exactly our case. Oh, I'm not good at language. I'm just going to relate it to a lack of the ability in foreign language that I have. Give up sooner, it also relates to our topic because we talk about persistence, and students, for example, if they're taking only OneonOne and they fail, they say, well, I didn't learn anything, I don't want to do it again. So my performance goals I did not reach my performance goals, so goodbye. Develop learning helplessness.
Can you talk for a minute about that learning helplessness?
Well, it's basically whenever you do not believe that you can increase your learning capacity in something. So it's basically saying, oh, I don't have enough strategies for that. Oh, I don't have enough talent in it again. My professor is bad. And
So getting good at making excuses.
yes, exactly.
But it's learned helplessness.
Right.
So
Yes.
it is a particular strategy, so it's more conscious behavior rather than.
Yes.
Huh.
So it's a student, he knows exactly why he is doing that. Yes, this is very important. Versus mastery in learning goals. They more associated with incremental beliefs and growth mindset. And students do want to improve. They do take risks, they will seek help, and they do expand their effort. And in fact, they think it's necessary. What about students? They do develop positive strategies. And in my own experience, I think it's very important for instructors or professors to make these strategies apparent. So even though we teach foreign language, it's still very important to talk to students about their learning strategies. Because some of them, especially students who are taking OneonOne introduction courses, they simply don't know the learning strategies that they might use in foreign language acquisition. You have to teach them how to seek challenge, and they do seek challenge. Focus attention, ask questions. Attribute failure not enough to the effort or input, but respond to trying again. So one of the best strategies that I noticed in expanding mastery engagement in my classroom, it does require me a lot of work, but I still do it every day. Many students do not believe that they learn through their mistakes, right? So whenever they do quizzes, exams, midterms, and just daily assignments, they complete it, they get the grade, and then what? You forget about it. Most of the times. So I always encourage my students to try again. I mean, obviously, I cannot do it in the midterm exam or final exam.
But that's why you have formative assessment.
Yes.
No grades, just keep trying.
And also, it's not only formative assessment, but it's also called dynamic assessment because because assessment is fluid. You accommodate students in your assessment, which is very important. Okay, so how do interest and mastery goals relate? So here's the chart by Heidi and Renninger. They established the levels of interest. So these two levels are triggered situational interest and maintained situational interest. Basically, these two stages, they are concentrated on the environment. So this is why they call it situational. These two stages, emergent individual interest and well-developed individual interest, these are individual interests that we basically acquire after the environment taught us about something, right? Because obviously, how can you get interest in something if you're not faced with environment in it, right? So,
can you skip a stage according to this model?
can you?
Can you skip a stage and still
I
go,
think,
go
of
further?
course you do. I think yes. But in our case, a lot of students, when they come in introduction level of 101, they come with triggered situational interest. So there are some, you know, some reasons why they're here and not, for example, in a different language course. Why it's particular Russian. So they do have some kind of interest before they came here. But what we need to do in order for them to, you know, pass 101 and actually go to 102, which is the huge gap in all languages, they have to jump from here to here or even here. These two stages, I think, these two stages, maintain situational interest and emergent individual interest. These two stages is exactly the level of 102 Russian, where students have to be more interest because of the environment and also more interest because of their emergent individual interest. And initial interest influences continued interest, mediating through mastery goal. There's a research. So that's why we do have to foster mastery goals orientation in foreign language classroom. Self-efficacy. Okay, so self-efficacy, it turns out to be extremely important aim domain. Judgment about one's ability to perform a task without a specific domain. So, can I do this? Yes or no? Can I learn foreign languages? No.
Is this the website you take all those cool pictures?
It's
my
professor, some of them. No, it's Flower Day, it's my professor.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
why is the name there?
Because some of these points are coming from her, from the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, you did the presentation for her class.
No.
Oh, she did the presentation and, okay, I
No,
see.
we had the call class on it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And so, Bandura, Alfred Bandura, is the researcher, scholar, who basically invented the theory of self-efficacy. He's a huge name in the educational psychology, and you know, I highly recommend you to read his works. So, he invented the social cognitive theory in teaching. It's teach students about self-efficacy. Use both expert and peer modeling. Provide useful feedback, guidance, help students to increase self-efficacy, and of course, encourage their self-regulation, which is one of the most important things. And so why is self-efficacy important, right? Because it's closely related to outcome and performance. It is closely related to engagement and persistence, which is very important in our case because we want students to persist studying a foreign language. Closely related to strategy use and help seeking.
Don't you have a,
Yeah, I know.
do you really
But
get you
no,
one?
it's fine. It's not
She
that
just
much.
wants to.
Yeah.
Hey.
So there are two types of learning. It's an active, learn by doing, and the careless, learn by observing. I don't know if you heard about this study that Manduras did. It's Boba-Bill study. Have you ever heard about it?
Mhm.
It's see aggression, do aggression. So so modeling plays a very important tool in the development of self-efficacy. And here are 6 steps of good modeling as to explain why students should learn a new skill. Model the entire procedure. Model individual pieces of the process. Allow students to practice pieces with teacher guidance. Students practice entire process with guidance, and students practice entire process using self-regulation. According to the syllabus that we have in 102,
It's a lot of work.
yes, I know, you don't have to read it all, but
Just summarize it.
yeah, students are expected to communicate about the familiar topics, right? Using simple sentences. They are also expected to write basically the same ideas, you know, using simple phrases, simple grammar, understand words, phrases, but again, everything should be simple. But still, if you look at this list, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially if students have no background in foreign language.
Those are all the SLOs?
Yes, it's from the beginning till the
That's
end.
a
It's
lot of
exactly
SLOs.
what we have. These are objectives for the OneonOne language course. And as I know, it is taken from ACTFL, American Association of blah, blah, blah. So, and then, of course, then students, you know, finish their if they do finish 101 classes, they look at these objectives and they're like,
Can I do that?
can I do that? What is my self-efficacy about that? Do I believe my innate ability is actually there or it's not? So students, when they look at these objectives, most of them, they're like, no, I don't think I can. And who wants to continue studying a foreign language if you can't? Not many students, obviously. So, I decided
Finally!
I know, but I had to give you this background a little bit. So, this is the model that I invented 5 years ago when I started to teach.
I developed.
Yeah, what did I say?
Invented is
Oh, yes,
is a
invented
little
is
weird.
like-
Yeah. You were like,
developed. Okay, so this is the model that I developed 5 years ago when I taught my first class of OneonOne Russian. And, you know, I started to teach the class and I didn't have enough experience, but I realized that I don't think these students will ever speak the language.
And you were right. Sorry.
And I have to do something with that. I have to increase their, you know, self-efficacy in it. I have to increase their interest in it. I have to make sure that these students at least are capable of, you know, saying simple phrases as it was stated in our objectives. Research shows becoming an expert depends on building large repeat.
Repertoire.
Favorite word. I cannot pronounce it. Please help me.
Repertoire. То же самое по-русски.
Нет. Не, мы так не говорим. Repertoire.
Да.
Okay, automated cognitive processes. So this repetition can play a major role in the development of linguistic skills. However, I don't know why, but when I took the classes of foreign language, even at UNL, I don't remember that the next class, you know, class after class, I don't remember me being, repeating the stuff that we have learned the previous class. So usually, professors or teachers, if they teach the material, the next class, they teach you something new. The next class, they teach something new. Do they come back to the material that we're supposed to learn? No. And this is why I'm arguing that repetition plays an essential role in this case. This practice, the practice of MIIP, is based on students' daily repeated performance of the various meaningful dialogues that can facilitate the creation of links between students' performance, competence, and students' confidence. And this increased self-efficacy. I'm going to show you how I'm doing that, but before that, I want to introduce you to the model by Atkinson, Schifrin, and Claude, and Norma. I'm sure you've seen it, but still. I want to concentrate in particular in the short-term memory, maintenance rehearsal. And this is where we have to concentrate our attention, because if we do not have enough rehearsal of the material that we're learning or studying, it is basically not possible that we take this that we encode this information into long-term memory. And many teachers assume that as long as we have language input or grammar or material, we just jump from here to right here. It is not possible without rehearsal. And I say daily rehearsal.
How long do you keep up the daily rehearsal until it gets included into long-term memory?
Well,
That's the $100 question.
Yeah,
Nobody
I'll
knows.
So this is the model of interactive instructional practice. First of all, at the beginning of each new chapter, a teacher examines the grammar points, vocabulary, and culture content that the chapter covers in the textbook. So you take the chapter and you examine all the points. Second,
What do you mean by examine?
examine is basically you want
Just reading?
No, it's not reading. It's putting them all together, like to make the list. What do you want your students
Like
to?
accusative case, let's say that's your grammar for the day, so what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You just list the
Oh no, no.
different uses of the
well,
accusative?
Well, for example, if the chapter is going to cover accusative case, if the chapter is going to cover some cultural component and so on, you write on a piece of paper major points that the chapter is going to cover. For yourself. Just
You
on
mean
the
the students do that, or the
No,
teacher?
it's you, the teacher.
Oh, the teacher,
The
okay,
teacher, the
okay.
teacher, yes.
Okay,
Then it's all what teacher does first
okay.
here.
Exactly.
Then the teacher composes a two-role dialogue in the format of PowerPoint presentation that covers the majority of these grammar points, some essential vocabulary, and culture points. Obviously, you cannot insert all the vocabulary into this small dialogue, right? But you still can insert the uses of the grammar that you want your students to comprehend. And next thing is the teacher makes sure that the answers in the dialogue, some of the answers, maybe it's not the best dialogue I could have inserted here, but still, if you see here the little dots, so students can make this dialogue personal.
So open-ended.
Open-ended. So this dialogue is not about drilling. I'm not expecting them to drill this dialogue and just perform it to me. No, I want this dialogue to be personalized for them.
Can you read, because poor Leslie,
no,
can you
it's-
read some of the, because that, I think
Yeah,
that's
for example, this is the dialogue that my students did for the first two chapters. Good morning. What is your name? Good morning. My name is blank. What is your name? My name is blank. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Are you a student? Yes, I am a student. And you? Or no, I'm not a student. I'm also a student. I study at the University of New Mexico. Where are you studying? I am studying at the University of New Mexico. You know, and I think this dialogue is 2 years old. Now I do have the dots instead of the university because some
right,
of
so
them,
it's less fixed.
yeah, it's less fixed.
You can do CNN.
And then there are options if you live here, or if the student lives here, or he lives in another place, and what is your favorite subject? My favorite subject is blah, blah, blah. What subject is easy for you and what is hard for you? And also, what I liked about this dialogue, that sometimes I give them the phrases that are not even from the chapter, but are authentic and the chapter doesn't cover, basically. Okay, so what my students usually do, since I have all the dialogues ready for them, I send the dialogue. For example, we had a class today, and the homework was to print the dialogue for the chapter that we're going to study within the next 2 weeks. Students print out the dialogue. They complete it, so they fill in the blanks with their own information, but they also have to make sure that they understand that the dialogue is talking about. So they have to do some translation. They have to, they have to think about it. They also have to make sure that they understand some new grammar points, so they have to go forward a little bit, even they have to go forward because simply they didn't study these grammar points yet. And yes, they do have a lot of questions, but the class they come, the next class, today's class, they brought it, they pulled it out, they had their dialogue ready, and then we went through the dialogue together with them, because I was the person one, they were person two, and then they always stand up, they always look for someone else, so it's not just the same partner, so they always speak with different people, and they have to perform this dialogue.
So they don't read it. That was my question. They don't, or they just have some
No,
little
they
cue
have
cards.
it. Yes,
Okay.
no, they
But
do.
they're not reading. They're trying to kind of
Yes, they trying to
act it out.
Yes, they have to. Well, first time, of course, they read it, Tanya. The first time they see it, they read it.
But
The
it sounds
second-
like they've had it for a long time before the class, so they could internalize it a little bit.
Exactly. And usually we cover chapter in 2 weeks. Usually that's what we do. And so I can assume students read this dialogue, perform this dialogue about 6-7 times.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And believe or not, but after we complete the chapter, they're actually able to talk about it. And students, I project the dialogue. It's the first thing we do in the morning. So I always say, "Доброе утро, дорогие студенты." Good morning, my dear students. Then we do this. The dialogue is the first thing. They stand up. That also gives me, some time. And I also see how they enjoy it, because they start the class with speaking in target language. So it's not just, oh, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. No. They are performing in Russian language right away, and it keeps them moving the entire class. Yeah, so I have a video, I mean, it's not here, but I have a video of how it works, if you want me to show you, but.
I've seen that in your class, but if Leslie is
Oh, yeah.
curious, yeah. Or
Yeah.
you can just give it to her.
I will send it, because the foreign language department, they videotaped my class, and this practice was at the beginning, and it's just, you just see how students are feeling good about speaking the language. Yes, it does provide them a lot of scaffolding. It does. And maybe many people will say, well, it's simply drilling, or it's not learning, it's not constructive. But I disagree with that. Because during the oral interview, which we're supposed to have at the end of the semester, I do ask them all of these questions from all of these dialogues, because these are essential questions that they are supposed to know how to respond. And if you only heard how confident they are responding to me, they respond me without any hesitation, without any pause, because they've done it so many times and they feel self-confident. Moreover, when students go to 201, 202, or when students go to Russia, they told me, Anya, you have no idea how these dialogues helped me to feel confident in the different country. Because I've been doing it so many times that you can wake me up in the night and I can perform you this dialogue. Moreover, I assess this dialogue because it's the part of the quiz which I give at the beginning of each chapter. And basically, I never say, oh, students, I'm going to assess the knowledge of the dialogue, so I expect you to stand up and basically perform it in the drilling mode. No, I don't say that. What I want them to do, I want them to know how to ask questions, and I want them to know how to respond to these questions. So it's not about little details like для тебя, for you. It's about proficiency. It's about how they feel about it. And the dialogue, of course, it's not on the board. They have to stand up and they just talk. And I walk, among them, and I listen them talking. And that's exactly what I want to hear in my classroom. And that's exactly why at the beginning of each semester, I always tell my students, believe me or not, but you will be able to speak some Russian. You will be able to read some Russian, and they do develop this really reading ability skill when they perform these dialogues over and over again. And they do write better, because basically they could also insert all of this information in their compositions. They feel more free when they ask questions in their compositions, you know, because many times they write these compositions to their friends, and so they're like, oh, they use authentic phrases, oh, как ты? У тебя все хорошо, are you all good? You know, and so on and so on. It's just fascinating. So I understand that this model is simple, but even though I see a huge value in it, and students gain this confidence, and at the end of the semester they always tell, I'm so happy, even if I'm not going to study language again, I'm able to speak some of it, which is a big difference.